Once upon a time, in a small town nestled in the hills, there stood a large chemical factory. The factory had been in operation for decades, producing all sorts of chemicals for various industries. However, one day, a terrible accident occurred at the factory, killing all of the workers inside. The townspeople were devastated by the tragedy and the factory was eventually abandoned. Years went by and the factory became nothing more than a ghostly reminder of the past. The townspeople avoided the factory as it was said to be haunted by the spirits of the workers who had died in the accident. But one day, a young man named Jack, who was curious about the history of the factory, decided to explore it. As he entered the factory, he noticed that it was in a state of disrepair and that the equipment had not been used in years. He walked through the dark corridors and found himself in a large room where the accident had occurred. Suddenly, he heard strange noises and felt a chill run down his spine. He realized that he was not alone in the factory, and he quickly made his way back to the entrance. As Jack stepped outside, he saw something that he would never forget. The ghostly figures of the workers who had died in the accident appeared before him, and they were all covered in the chemicals that had caused their deaths. They were still trapped inside the factory, unable to escape, and they were still performing the same tasks that they had been doing when they were alive. Jack realized that the factory was not just a ghostly reminder of the past, but it was also a prison for the spirits of the workers who had died there. He knew that he had to do something to help them. He spent years researching the accident and finally found a way to cleanse the factory of the chemicals that were trapping the spirits. With the help of the townspeople, Jack was able to decontaminate the factory and set the spirits free. The factory was finally at peace and the townspeople were able to remember the tragedy with a sense of closure. Jack was hailed as a hero and the factory was turned into a memorial to the workers who had died there. From that day on, the factory was no longer known as the Ghost Chemical Factory, but as the Memorial Chemical Factory, and it was visited by many people who wanted to pay their respects to the workers who had died there. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider liking the video and subscribe to be notified of freshly baked, frightfully generic stories.